I look like.
Exactly, and I'm sure you guys have spent enough time on Zoom that Wearbo's no different in that you do actually save a little bit of juice in terms of connectivity, so it's probably not a
Yeah.
bad thing. Yeah, in terms of this. So, whilst I am sharing screen, I guess maybe just to start off, I mean, Helena and I got into a bit of a chat in the chat box with regards to the social media for Real Innovation Group, and you've also put some dot points down for me around sort of what some scheduling might look like. But maybe just let me know a little bit more about the business. Kane or Helena, in terms of how long you've been going and where you sort of fit in and that sort of things?
Well, Real Innovation Group was originally Retail Innovation Group,
Hmm.
quite a while ago, and it rebranded itself because everything that it did for the retail vertical, Kane realised they could do more broadly. So hence the quick name change. But since I joined in April of last year, and let's be honest, nothing counts BH before me, before Helena. There's about 9 core products and capabilities that Rigor have, which is what would create the fodder or the content for all of our different socials posts, talking about all our different services, relating it back to what's now or what's trending or what's happening. But at a very high level, where I would probably start is Discover. So Discover is basically the opportunity to have a conversation with us about a health check or a spring clean of your existing technology. So most businesses have if you jump to the website, actually, you can
Yeah, that's what I
probably
was thinking. Often
match
people have
these.
these listed. So
So
you
if
were
you look
talking about
under
four strange
solutions,
streams. Are they here? Yep, yep.
they're the 9.
Well, they're
Yep.
nine. Yeah, okay, nine. Yep.
So I'm starting at the second one, which is Discover. It's basically the health check for your business. So we come in, we sit down with you, we understand what you are, who you are, why you do what you do, and why you're so good at what you do, and what tech you currently have,
Mm-hmm.
and what your strategy is. And then we look to kind of try and find you optimizations, utilizations, saving money for your business in terms of your tech landscape, and also make sure that it matches your business strategy. So wherever you want to go, whatever you want to achieve, the technology, and that's hardware, software, applications, it's the whole kit and caboodle,
Mm-hmm.
all of that matches where you're going. There's no point driving a car if it's going backwards. You're never going to get to your destination. So that's, to me, that's what Discover is.
Yep.
um, from there, I can talk to you about Create. Create is our secret squirrel in-house group of developers. So
Mm-hmm.
if there is a software or application that you want to talk to another software application,
Mm-hmm.
or there's a unicorn, like it doesn't exist, what you want doesn't exist, and you're tearing your hair out and you want to build it from new. Create is really, they think outside the box so you don't have to.
Yep.
And anything and everything is possible. Inquire and Mystery get bundled together and revert back to Retail Innovation Group's roots. Inquire is Power BI on steroids. So it's the analysis and interpretation of that information to enable you to make really targeted business intelligent decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And Mystery is the hardware that matches the Inquire software. So my favorite example is if you think about a shopping center or an airport, from the moment you walk in, we can understand and track where you've moved, how long you've spent in front of a newsagent or a cafe, right through the airport or the shopping center till you board your plane or till you leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the combination of Mystery's hardware being able to pinpoint you as you move throughout the facility, and Inquire software understanding what you do as you move around. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Those two for me, and I think Kane will agree, they're still core products and we are still very capable of delivering it. But the market that would want it is currently going through a bit of disruption.
Mm-hmm.
So we're focusing on the other 7 products inside Rigger's stack. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think we can also talk about, just because I think it's ridiculously cool, Mystery and Inquire can then integrate, say, if you're a Priceline member and you have the app on your phone, when you walk into the Priceline shop in the shopping centre, it can pop up with a notification that says, "Hey, Steve, last time you were here, we noticed that you bought 1,000 of those hand warmers so you could sit in your garage. They're on sale in aisle 7. Do you want us to direct you there?" So
Mm-hmm.
it can get really integrated. From there, Posture. Posture is our online one-stop shop for all your IT tech needs in terms of hardware, cables, power boards, printers. It was more spun up as a way for us to help promote local and lesser known suppliers during last year's shit, we've got to work from home, we need to get all this extra kit at
Mm.
home.
Yep.
So if we offer the tech solutions, it just seems reasonable that we can offer you the hardware as well and the
Mhm.
peripherals. From there, we've got Contribute, I think should be coming up soon.
Oh, yeah.
And Contribute is our social enterprise. So we wanted a way to give back. What it does is it uses e-cards online with Uplift. So you'll get $100 at Coles on an e-card for $95. And then you go spend your $100. 2% of the spend on the Contribute platform is then contributed to local causes. So it saves you money on your everyday spending and you're giving back just from a extra click in your existing shopping routine at Coles, Woolies, Dan Murphy's, the Iconic. Like there's over 700 major retailers. So for us, it's a bit of a no-brainer around a quick win to give back to clients and staff,
Mhm.
and also contribute to causes. And from there, it spun out into a for biz and a for enterprise as well approach. So for me, it's a little bit like Netflix, where you sign up with a subscription. It's $15 a month, and then once you make your savings
Yep.
back, you'll have paid off that. You'll be either net neutral or well beyond net neutral with all your savings. I love the savings calculator inside Contribute.
Right.
If you're looking for a post topic, that's one of my go-tos.
Yep.
So from there, you can sign up as an individual consumer, like for me, is what we call it. You can sign
Yep.
up as a business, so your business can be listed on the portal and you can then offer those discounts to shoppers. You can appear in the local page. You can set your own coupons like Scoopon, where if you come in between 2 and 5, you can get a free coffee or whatever if you're a cafe owner. But you also then get back-end marketing analytics that probably would weave in really well with what you guys do from a social media perspective around visibility across different platforms, how you're being perceived from your Contribute exposure, whether people are redeeming the vouchers that they're buying. It can integrate with like MailChimp or Active Campaign and provide a bit of a back end as well. So it's more of a sort of small business online marketing approach. And
Mm.
then we've also got for enterprise, which
Is
is
that
where
a
we really live,
collaborative thing that you've done there, or is that something you guys have done?
collaborative.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've got a partner who
Yep.
runs or underpins the
Yep.
platform.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, and then clearly support is more around basically your
Support is your
clients.
managed IT,
Yeah.
managed IT help desk, and
Yeah.
Journey Pro is our flagship
Yeah.
job scheduling and workflow management, and my favorite flavor.
And and
How'd that go, Kane?
You missed Converse.
Oh shit, I did too. I missed Converse. Well played. Converse voice and Converse data is all things telephony, and internet. So whatever part of the discover is, usually we can unpick and find some really good optimization and utilization around your telephone and internet.
yeah.
And what we offer as standard, most other businesses offer as their advanced package. So we're all about right sizing your technology and tools to match your business landscape with bringing you enterprise grade functionality for lower cost, better price.
Awesome. I think you did brilliantly. How long? Because you've not been with Riga, you call it, is for very long by comparison to Kane. Is that right? And is that why that question came along about
Yep,
Helena? Yeah, it
yep.
is. Yeah,
I've been there about maybe a year and a bit.
yeah.
April was a year, and Kane's been there since the dawn of time.
And is it Riga because it's the arm of a? So is that Is that standing for Australia? Then is that what we've?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Real Innovation Group Australasia.
yeah. As against, is there a is there a global element to that, or is that an
Yep.
aspiration? Yeah, there is. Okay.
There is a global element to that. So Asia, we've got a lot of operations in Asia.
Yep.
So if you have a look at Helena's signature in one of her emails, you'll actually see that there's
Australia, Asia, America, Africa, and Amsterdam.
correct.
Ah, okay. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
In
So
terms of
Or if you
where it
jump onto the
sits.
contact page, Steve,
Okay. Yeah.
just where you are, if you jump onto the contact page, I think we've done this quite well. If you scroll down, oh, it's not what I remember it being.
no, it's not what I remember it being either.
If you were a little bit further up,
I was going to say,
it's got
wonder
the
if.
map of the world, and then it's got different colours
there
where
it
we
is.
have representation, but it's missing all the A's.
It is.
Besides Auckland.
Okay.
So on the
Yeah,
global map, those other
eh,
ones should be
but
coloured.
as you said, so how did you come to be involved then, Kane? Is that something that how did the opportunity present in terms of getting involved down under?
So, Retail Innovation Group was a spin-off of a purely managed services business called Layer 7 Group. Layer
Right.
7 Group's the underpinning and the parent company of Real Innovation Group.
Yeah.
So Layer 7 predominantly did managed services for retail.
Yeah.
And then from there, they were looking at things that retailers were doing, or their customers in particular, and decided that they could assist in that area. Hence, Retail Innovation Group was born.
Right.
So Layer 7's been operational for, God, I don't know, about 14 years
Mm-hmm.
as a trading name. And then it went off on its own about 8 years ago.
Yep.
And then Retail Innovation Group was born 4 years ago. So that's the kind of the segue into where we are. So Rigor, or Real Innovation Group, is the go-to market across Australia and New Zealand.
Yep. And did you have involvement with Layer 7 then as well?
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. Okay. You must have been a young lad back when you started. Then, is that the case? There we go.
What are you saying? What are you saying, Steve?
I'm saying that you look youthful. What was your
You suck.
background? What was your background in terms of getting into the space?
I worked for Telstra for 12 months and saw that the grass was greener on the other side.
Right.
And I started building.
Only took you 12 months to see that.
It did. It did.
Yeah. Yes.
Internally was just. Do you know what? Actually, those probably the best times of Telstra back when I worked there.
Right.
And in the small business, when you had unlimited Amexes and you didn't have to justify a night-long bender.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's another story.
Right. It's amazing how many clever people come out of Telstra. It is. It's fair to say. Probably the big four and places like that as well. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
There you go.
I started building IT managed services businesses for a lot of the Telstra partners out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've built 4 over the time.
Yep.
And then I decided that's it. Let's do Layer 7, and that's that. And then it's just been a journey from there that I've already told you about.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, it's an impressive website. Just in terms of, I think it's really clean, and there's a lot of, and the way you just work through it. I actually listened to your voicemail. I think I say your name wrong. I go with a hard E rather than a Helena. Helena. Tomato, I guess. But what do you prefer? Just
Hell is easier for everybody.
Hell. That's right.
And
Exactly.
probably
That's what I
reasonably
see.
apt.
Hellcat, in fact.
There you
Now,
go.
I'm wondering on the in terms of getting a feel and a read. You mentioned Priceline. I mean, is it typically sort of the multi-outlet type retail that you're? What does a client look like for you guys?
Because we have
Anyone that pays.
Yeah. That's
His
right.
view of the world is very black and white.
The business definition, profitable, profit. Yeah.
I think my view is we have clients that are one-man bands, and we
Yep.
have clients as large as 900 sites
Wow.
and everything in between. It
Yeah.
really is around what is your business and what is your pain point and how can we help?
Mm-hmm.
And so each of those 9 capabilities that we offer solve for different pain points.
So
Kane is very
having
much
been
more the
involved, I
technical.
mean, I guess that's probably true in the fact that even with you being part of BNI, right? So that tends to then cover off on that sort of very sole to micro type business, which is, to be
Yeah,
fair, where I often spend most of my at least focus on, and then other things can happen. But I don't think this business has done that, right? This business seems to me that it would have worked with bigger and then sort of scaled certain things. Maybe, I don't know. You mentioned that, up to 900. What is there a typical, or maybe the other way to say it is, there a sweet spot? Pareto says 80%. Where, if you're out there and sort of your business strategist or someone's talking to you, who are you really targeting? Who do you really want to be working with?
I think each product has its own target market,
Yeah.
which again makes it quite challenging. And Kane,
It,
keeping things simple, anyone who pays.
yeah, anyone who pays, anyone who wants to
Mm,
give us money, we'll take them on
yeah,
board.
yeah.
I guess the biggest target market or target audience for everything. Let's put Journey Pro aside for a moment because it's our flagship software package.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Everything else that we offer is targeted towards the SMB market space. So
Right.
if we talk about retailers, so 3 to 5 sites and above, is where we kind of like to play in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, franchisees,
Yep.
like Snooze and 40 Winks and Harvey Norman's.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of the areas where we see the most value that we can add due to cost savings as a bare minimum,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously the expertise that we can offer around streamlining services and offering more guidance and advice. So you can see each product stack is unique in its own way, but you combine all of them together and they become very, very sticky. So,
Yep.
the storyboard is, and I guess the masterclass, and how I promote rigor is that we take Snooze betting as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Snooze was spending
So
three to
they
four
are a
thousand
client, yeah.
dollars. They
Snooze,
were
yep.
a client. They
They've
aren't
been a
now.
client. Yep. Yep.
They've been a client.
Yep.
They were spending $3,000 to $4,000 a month per location on internet, telephony, IT managed services, etc.
Yep.
And but due to, and each franchise was its own small business, so their
Yep.
own ABN.
Correct. Yep.
Some of them had,
Yep.
multiple store locations and purely getting ripped off. So
Yep.
by centralizing all that and using the buying power, we were able to go into 95 of their locations and charge $750 a month for everything: internet,
Mm-hmm.
telephone, IT managed service, help desk,
Yep.
and retail business hours, because retail's just not Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. No one really does managed services on a Saturday or a Sunday. But we
Right.
do. We're 24/7. They pay the
Yep.
premium for it, but
Sure.
at least they know they've got coverage on a Sunday when their point of sale's not working. They've got someone to call.
So you were working with
Uh,
Snooze even when they were sleeping.
oh, I like that analogy. You have to remember
Mm.
that. Write that
Yeah.
down, Helena. Um, and then they go, that's awesome. We've saved, each franchisee, we've saved them, $2,000 a month. What can we do with that? Well, then we started putting Bluetooth tracking beacons and marketing and all that kind of stuff into their stores, so that they were given, their foot traffic around their bricks and mortar stores was more detailed. They could see how long it took staff members to approach customers. It gave them such great insights around who's just walked by or who's done a double back. They've looked at the shabby chic bed setting in the window because we can tell how long they've dwelled for. And then they've actually walked into the store, but they've gone to the kids section first, and then you can marry up their point of sale receipt to the time they walked into the store, to what they visited, to then exactly what they purchased. So
Mm-hmm.
give them real live information so that they could target market their marketing energies. And then, okay, what else can we do? And you start putting the analytical dashboards together for them and the reporting and all that kind of stuff. So they were our one-stop shop for almost all of our product stacks.
Yeah. Right.
And then you introduced Journey Pro, which then did the original Journey, which is software that we developed about 4 years ago now, has now turned into Journey Pro, which is an absolute beast, which we'll get into in a second. So, they put Journey over their delivery management and then their customer experience. No one was doing that. And then Uber came along, which is exactly what Journey is. It tracks people, or tracks your food delivery, or tracks your car delivery, your person delivery. So, having the ability to sign on glass and take payments on a tablet and all that kind of stuff was relatively new 4 years ago in the delivery management industry, believe it or not.
A lot of things have been hastened, haven't they? I used to laugh at QR code marketing. I thought that was the biggest joke. I'd see it on bus shelves. I said, no one's ever going to use a QR code. Little did we know.
How wrong you were.
Exactly. I'm still not sure they're using it for marketing, but at least now we know they can do it.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, the barrier to entry rather for QR codes is, the older generation don't know how to use them, but they've now been educated because due to COVID, you need to use it to check in bloody everywhere. So, it's now a very valid form of marketing. We've just actually redone all of our stubby holders and stuff, haven't we, H? And we've put QR codes that take them directly to the product's landing page to sign up.
Yeah, good one.
So,
awesome.
Things like that. And then, so that they're the kind of 2 to 3 year digital transformation. Throw whatever buzzwords you bloody well want to. At the end of the day, it's just we're doing our job. We're simplifying things, and we're allowing them to spend the same amount of money on better technology and better outputs. Or they simply take the money, the $2,000 a month, and run and put it against their bottom line. We don't really care what they do with it, but we just want to make sure that they're succeeding. And technology is what, Helena?
An enabler and not an inhibitor, Kane.
Correct. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. You guys are on sync.
And then we've got Journey Pro, and that's a completely different target audience. That's a software package which is Helena's little baby, and that is targeted to anyone that wants to subscribe to it. So think Xero, Office 365. You can sign up as a one single plumber that has no desire to expand, but wants to streamline his paperwork and give his customers a better experience. It could be a plumber that wants to expand to 5 or 6 plumbers. It could be a removalist. It could be Ridgeway's removalist. It could be it can be anything you really want. Trade services, logistics management, and what's the other target audience we're looking at now? Pardon?
Electricians. Automotive.
Yeah, that's trades and services, automotive, retail. But yeah,
I think it's on the front page of Rigor.
Is it?
On the web page, on the homepage, sorry.
Yeah, and Journey Pro is just a subscription software, so anyone that wants to sign up to it can have it.
And just the relationship with the bigger organisation in terms of thanks for that overview. So as you said, you really do cover off. Is a bit of a strategy for you, and I ask this purely because it is something that I do, but I'm wondering whether you might do the same. Let's use, say, Snooze as an example. I'm not sure how that came about, but would it be a strategy that you might look at times where you would start with one Snooze store and then you would show how good it is in that Snooze store, that then the other Snooze stores would go, oh shit, we want that for all of our multi-outlets / franchises, whatever that might be. Is that something you've done in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're currently doing that same analogy with Snits. The Schnitzel roll
they're tasty,
makers.
those.
They are very tasty. So we're starting with their company stores at the moment, and doing exactly what we've done with Snooze is, point of sale, data networks, IT managed services for retail. So once the model's proven there, then they'll offer it to their franchisees. But they can't do it until there's trust in the system. Whereas the other way, Helena's got what's the tyre mob? Hankook tires. So it's here's the offer. We know it works, and they're promoting it. But franchisees are very funny. They're always about adverting head office's directives, because if they always think that they've got to then pay franchising costs and franchising fees against it and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very unique an industry.
It is, yeah.
Some want them centralized, some want them your relationships with the franchisee. We don't care. Whereas Snooze, as an example, it just came out of their franchising fees. So we invoice Snooze one invoice, then they rent and collected all the money off the franchisees.
I think it's more about the client's buying behaviors and us matching them to help them let us add value. So Snooze was the way that Kane described that sort of enterprise-wide solution versus the Hankook one, where they will be more like what you were describing, where it's the one shop first example, and then everyone buys into it.
Yeah, as you said, and similar to what Kane was just mentioning, there's two approaches that you can take, right? So it's interesting. This is quite exciting for to talk to you about this sort of stuff. I've actually just talking with a video content creator who we did Masters of Marketing together back in 2010 to 2012, and he actually lobbed a job in marketing, whereas I created the job in marketing, if that makes sense. So he has pretty much spent the entire last 8 or 9 years, Good Guys, Clark Rubber, blah 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 blah, all these different mobs, right? Auto One maybe,
Yeah.
and all of them are a little bit like the way you just described with your company, but often there's a name that's given, but the group name might be different. So that group name may well own 6 different franchise that we're familiar with,
Yeah.
right? And so, but he's just jumped out, right? So he's had his Telstra moment, and basically what he's doing is now creating video content because he knows how to pitch it back into those businesses, right? And we're talking because I've kind of got a toe in with the gyms group in that I'm doing the social media marketer for a new so Jim's Laundry, and I kind of know both the digital guy and Jim, because I went through a franchising process myself around about a year and a half ago, or probably actually 2.5 years ago now, when I decided not to franchise but just employ. And whether that was a good decision or not, I'm not sure yet. But the reality is, going along to franchise meetings, you had 50% were actually maybe franchise people, and the other 50% are just lawyers, right? So it's just like it's you're swimming with the sharks when you go to these VicTaz franchise meetings. But anyways, there is that element into what you were sort of saying. Um, it's it's great to have capacity to pitch. And I think just looking at this, your business, in what you're showing me here, and the little bit that I've looked at already, you have good capacity to pitch in at that much, at that level, at the franchise owner level, right?
Franchisor level.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
franchisor, not the partner level. And so, and there's all sorts of ways in which that might happen. But then there is that opportunity at times. When I've had success in the past with Action Indoor Sports Group and Inflatable Worlds and those sort of things, it's often happened by doing a region first. And even with gyms at the moment, like he's a master franchiser, so you get in with a regional or a master franchiser, and then you finish up doing, he's got 187 cleaning ones, right? And I'm looking and thinking, how the are you guys doing that? And they'd probably be doing a mess of it compared to what we're doing with them at the moment. But anyway, the bottom line is, I think our and one of the things I should say is I'm trying to get away from doing too many, particularly very micro, very solo. I can help them, and part of the, you want people to like you, and you can help them, but there's also an element of it's often a very hard education, and B is they don't necessarily understand what they're getting, by way of value, by what you're adding. But anyway, I think probably just so I understand a little bit. So in terms of, because I don't think it's on here, but in terms of say pricing points, just on that basis, you gave me a bit of a bit of a thumbprint there when you talked about Snooze. Would that be sort of, when you're looking at your soul through to your bigger jobs? I mean, how many projects would you be working on, say, at any one time, and what how do the project sizes tend to differ? So clearly, if you're working with a Snooze and five outlets, I'm assuming that's a much bigger project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's literally, if we've got availability, we're getting it done. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay.
Our project management team, project management and delivery is probably the two areas that are next being focused on in the business.
Yep.
Purely because we need to get, like, we've now got the proper platform in place from a workflow management. So it's cradle to grave around sales right through to implementation and support of that implementation for the next 36-month contract. And making sure that the touch points along the way and the review meetings are held and all that kind of stuff. So, I was very hands-on and still am very hands-on around project delivery,
Yep.
and I
So
need to
annoying.
remove my. It is very annoying, and it shits me to tears because I should be out there working in the business, not on it. Work other way around, working
Yeah.
on the business
Yeah.
and
No,
not
I
in it.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, and
Um,
I feel your pain. Yeah.
Corona
I
didn't
think
do any favors either, because obviously, where do you go and get equipment sent that needs to be staged? So
Mm.
you send it all at home, and then you've got to go and configure it, and then you're taking your time away from meetings and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Where
been.
are you based, Kane? Where are
I'm
you?
based in Chelsea.
Oh, you're in Chelsea, which is sort of southeast, yeah, just
Yeah,
down
yeah,
that corridor. Yeah.
yeah.
And and Helen, are you out? You're not too far from there either, right? Because you
no,
go
I'm
to.
Paran,
Yep.
so same direction, but a lot closer to the city. But I think my perspective with regards to our ability to deliver is we're very transparent in our sales conversations. So it
Yeah.
depends on what we're selling. If most conversations around converse, which is telephone and internet, you've already got an existing telephone and internet. You're coming to us because you want to stop paying out the arse and you want to get a better service. So there
Yeah.
is criticality, but it's usually a timeline that we can manage, and then we can manage expectations and the project work for
Yep.
when it fits in around existing projects. Same goes for everything else that we sell. And when we sell it, Journey Pro, we do sort of your onboarding experience, but it is designed to be self-sufficient. We don't want you to keep having to pay us professional services fees for every small move, add, or change that you want to make. We want to teach you to fish, you can eat. So Journey Pro is upfront, maybe for the first 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how quickly they move, quite labor intensive. But beyond that, it's very much back on the client and themselves to
Mm.
actually manage the project with touch points with us. So I think one of complementary to how we sell, having multiple approaches, our delivery does as well, because it's around what is a compelling event or driving need from the client that we need to match,
So
and
just
what's
that's a really
within
good
reason.
segue, right? So at the moment, how do you market and then sell? So what's the process? What's the sort of what's the flow through at the moment? How do you find people and how do people find you at the moment? Where is it? What's worked and what have you tried things that haven't worked? What's been working?
BNI, I think, is starting to yield a little bit of fruit.
Hmm.
I've got my feet under me with it now since joining in October, and I think it's starting to really mature. So hopefully that's going to be an opportunity for us to test a new sales approach. Beyond that, it's been a little bit of existing database and cold calling through LinkedIn or existing connections,
Yeah.
and then upselling existing clients. But if I look at Journey Pro specifically, and my philosophy is always land and expand. So land on whatever pain point is and then expand into your other services because you've delivered that and solved their problem.
Hmm.
But if I look at Journey Pro, because as Kane said, that's my baby, my favorite flavor.
Yep. Is that what you
We're
want me
about
to
to
do or no?
offer.
No. Yep.
um,
I actually really like this achieving big business outcomes for small business affordability. I really like that actually. It's good.
it's the tagline.
It's the
I
It's
came up
tagline.
with
punchy.
that.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I mean,
Not bad.
it's, I
Take
like
it
it.
back. It's shit now.
Mm, mm,
But for Journey Pro specifically, we're about to launch a try before you buy free trial.
mhm,
So it'll give me the opportunity to have a conversation with a 1 to 5 to 10 man kind of trades and service business and say, I've told you all about it. You're nodding your head and you say it's amazing. Go try it at no
mm.
cost to you. Like, see that prove to yourself that it does do everything it says on the box. And it becomes then a funnel rather than those smaller opportunities and the enterprise ones that require a little bit more hand holding and a little bit more kind of tailoring, having the same amount of effort.
Yeah, I think just again, I can see a lot of this business in my own business. And I think I know that there's an element of that I feel like I'm probably not finding or have found because of perhaps there's some limiting factors when you're using. There's some great factors with offline and even the online networking that we're having to do that we're doing at the moment. But there is also some limiting factors, as you said, where you have to do more. In terms of to be able to get
Yep.
out and have more people know of it, and whatever that looks like, right? So maybe, if it's okay, should I just go through because clearly for us the step through process, just so you're aware, perhaps you guys have probably had a look. Did you have a look at what I sent through? Because I'll talk through
We
that
did.
now if that's okay.
I think we
Yeah.
looked at it last week, so we might need
Yeah,
a
so you might be a
refresher.
little bit, yeah. So effectively, just so you're aware, the first thing we do is we actually, just look at how your online and particularly your social media presence is featured at the moment, just using really your name, right? So in terms of going through that process and looking at the asset itself. So the idea is we want that asset to be as professional and as good as it possibly can be. So that's the first thing to say around the asset, right? Then what we want to do is work out what sort of plan should we put in place around a schedule of posts, which is what you guys talked about, as well as who are you going to target from an advertising perspective. Because realistically, both of you may well know, Facebook particularly has gone to shit with regards to organic algorithm. But the good thing is, particularly in the current time that we find ourselves, ironically, or reach goes far higher in
Mm.
lockdown slash COVID, right? So every time we've been spending a dollar for all of our clients, particularly up in Sydney, for instance, at the moment, they're actually doing better by way of their ads, but a lot of them are stuffed because of what they can or can't do because of lockdowns, right? So, but anyway, planning becomes the next thing, and then the third thing becomes basically the activities, right? So, in terms of managing and reporting on the delivery of whatever we select that we're going to do together, right? So that's just a quick overview. Often people, and I guess the other thing to be really clear, I don't believe in social media selling, right? So effectively, what I believe is social media is the next best thing to almost networking, right? It started out being called a social media network, right? So realistically, to me, return on investment is about how many people are seeing you in the first place. There's that awareness. You heard of the AIDA, right? Then there's the interest, which we try and create by way of the social media posting. And ultimately, there's desire, which generally is far more likely to happen back on the website, which you guys have a really good one, right? But there's some things you can do maybe from a social perspective, to do a little bit better around it. But anyway, I just wanted to give you that bit of context. Having the objectives and understanding what ROI is ultimately about getting people seeing, engaging, remembering, and going to the website is what we can measure. Well, we know we can measure that by way of the Facebook ads pixel and that sort of stuff. So the first thing that I do for anybody is basically look and see what happens when we put in the name, right? So Real Innovation Group. Clearly, you've got this Google My Business. Clearly, not much has been done, with regards to that. So just to be aware, this is this little one here. I'm pretty sure if I click on that, but that little map link is something you could be sharing to everybody to say, how are we doing, or if you want to review us, here's how you review us. Basically, it's that Google map there, right? So that's often we suggest to people that should be the Google icon or the map icon on your website that you actually have. You've got one, right? So probably less than 50% of businesses whether they have a real presence or not, actually have a Google Map My Business set up in any case. Then the other thing is clearly we want your website to be the most prominent thing, but it's interesting from our perspective to sort of see that LinkedIn and Facebook actually becomes the next most prominent things from a search perspective, right? The other thing is probably because of the way you've named yourself, but see, there's no ads or anything sitting above you. Well, that's a good thing, right? So you can imagine if you're called, in your group, how is the buyer's advocate? You can imagine what happens when you put buyer's advocate into search, right? You have 5 people advertising above before you get to their website, right? And so it's really important that they have a map, right, as well, that sort of thing. So So that's the first thing, just from how does the social translate to the search side of things, and what you can be doing. There's certain things you certainly can be doing to, harness reviews and make more of that Google My Business. We actually can now publish updates through that, which we couldn't with our scheduler, which we weren't able to do in the past, right? Google Plus, you probably heard, was a failed. I'll go actually to your website. Was a failed social media. And so, but now Google My Business really kind of replaces that, and you can publish through it. You might have heard, I don't know if others have told you, but we've kind of been taught to read websites top left, down, and up, right? And as I said, you guys, I believe, have got a really nicely set up website, to the point where your key things that you want people to do, they're all really easy to click on and all that sort of stuff. And we've already gone through and had a look at that. I'm assuming there's no hard call to action or offers and that sort of stuff, and your sort of your statements don't exist necessarily, because you are a real innovation group. I guess that in a way tells people what you're about, but then you've got more of these banners, and even as I said, I really like this achieving big business outcomes for small business around what you do. Then around social proofing, as I said, you've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, and you've got a YouTube channel. But I'd be including your Google, your Instagram and Twitter if we've got them, and then potentially, do you have a phone number that you want people to contact you on?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
1300 number.
yeah. So just because we're lazy, right? So often it's even a good spot up here to actually put phone, and often with depending on the website platform itself, you can set it up the top so it's always visible, right? So that people know straight away rather than have them go clicking through that sort of thing. That's all. And then the other thing that we'll talk about that you can consider on the website is just the pixel code and some plugins that actually show people. Where was I? I was back over here. Now I can't work out which is my PDF doc and which is my so anyway, that's the website. So when we go through and do things with people, we actually do sort of make some suggestions that you might want to consider around the website. Sorry, I click through. I'm going too fast. I was only on page 3. The next one I want to get to was just hang on. Here we go. All right. So yeah, just in terms of your LinkedIn, I think I've just used you. Sorry, that's your company first. Just from a social media perspective, and it's the same across the board, right? Stuff that looks good on print and that sort of stuff doesn't necessarily look good here. You've already got your icon here. If that's the icon you're going to use on everything, and that's good. But what you could be using here is some really good sort of real people, real places type imagery, that's showing the sorts of services that you bring about, for the business. And you can put a little bit of branding on if you choose to do so. But generally speaking, as soon as we whack this sort of stuff, which actually, depending on where you're seeing it, actually becomes really hard to read. If you're looking at this on your phone, very hard to read any of these words and that sort of stuff. And again, it does. This is a marketer speaking, right? But as soon as we see things in our feed, any of our news feeds, and they've got graphics, it starts to smell of selling, right? So we feel like, okay, well, there's Doreen's lunch and there's John's movie or whatever he's doing. Oh, what's this thing in front of me, right? And so whether it's our profiles, which aren't necessarily as in the same way, so the amount of people that would be seeing Helena, depending on how often she posts on LinkedIn, on the feed compared to coming and having a look at her profile. Often people only look at your profile when they're first trying to connect with you, for instance, right? And then the opportunity in here is actually to actually really use the 240 characters or whatever there is available to you to make sure that you're the best representative of your company and be very searchable for the IT services and that sort of stuff that you provide. Oliver, enough. Jump. So apologies. So yeah, so both of you, I mean, you look great. And so you've done more of it, Kane. So a lot of this sort of stuff, I couldn't even tell you what it is, right? But clearly it says that you're a techie, you know what you're talking about, right? And that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Although it could also be the journey that you take, that you spoke to me about, all the different types of, give them your own label. So that's what you become known for. This is the stuff that we do, in this part here. Remembering that you're running a business, you're not an employee at the end of the day, right? You're not looking for a new opportunity. So that's where there's some differences. Clearly here, same thing applies. On your Facebook page, no need to put the logo again there because it already exists, right? That's real imagery, that sort of thing. I can't remember what your posting schedule it looks like. I know what you talked to me about, but sort of we suggest sort of for our extra small clients, we're doing every second day, and for our small business clients, we're doing every day posting, right? And the middle day, we're often doing ambush sort of posting. So, in a good way, where we're trying to get the attention of people that may well be bigger than us. They may be clients, other strategic people in in your network that you might want to share and engage with. And that's on Facebook alone. I couldn't find I don't think you have Instagram. Is that right?
No.
No.
And the only reason we include the and people often sort of say, well, do we need Instagram or do we need Twitter? Well, Instagram's owned by Facebook, and so you can put, depending on your market and who you're targeting, you can. The best thing about Instagram is, particularly when you're actually advertising, all of a sudden you can put your call to action around offers or learn more or whatever it might well be. Whereas normally it's just someone might be hearting, which is might be okay from a familiarity and awareness. And similarly with Twitter, Twitter actually does give a lot more organic impressions than most of the others, right? Because it lets everything through to the keeper, whereas all of the others constrain how much of your post people see in their feed. Twitter doesn't. Right. So there's sort of ways that you can get the benefit. But the other thing is it does give you another profile that you can own. And we saw, even from a search perspective, there is some advantages. And sometimes it blows me out of the water. I'll see something random that'll come up, a tweet we might have done for a client, which actually becomes quite searchable, which is unusual. But anyway, it's more about owning that asset. And here's what I was sort of saying around this Google map, right? So that's basically where you want to get people to, so they know it shows a greater size, and you can sort of load up photos and imagery and stuff in here to help you out from a size perspective. I actually like this. Your actual landing page for your YouTube was probably the best. I reckon if you're wanting to go with a more graphic type image, that would sort of talk to me more than perhaps some of those other things. But generally, you're best off using a similar banner to what you're using, or an image that you're using on your website, right? So people know that they're looking at the same group. So, is there anything you did or didn't sort of know around, where your social media sites, and how have you been? Have you been primarily using these prior to Kane, or how have these been sort of used?
Mostly it's been Facebook and Instagram for brand awareness.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. So we're now into that next phase where we've optimized our website. We've got the pixels, we've got all that kind of stuff.
Done that. Yep.
We've got limited call to actions, whereas the previous website was all about, like I said, brand awareness, getting that Rubik's Cube R out in front of everyone. And now we've got limited call to actions on the website. We've separated out sign-up pages and those landing pages for products and things like that. We've already engaged a marketing consultant to assist with all of that.
Yep.
So yeah, she's been working heavily in the background.
Yep.
Social media, LinkedIn really was, I don't know, just a company to be a member of, to be quite honest, when it started. I'm employed by, by Real Innovation Group, and Facebook was, I don't know, Facebook started and then it stopped and then it started and then it stopped. And, then when we blog post, I was, I assumed that it was going to all the social media sites that we have. But it wasn't. It was only going to LinkedIn.
Yep.
We don't have Instagram or Twitter. Instagram was probably my naivety around, well, how the hell do you sell a computer with a photo, right? No one, a technology company using Instagram, just, I don't know. And no one tried to convince me otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And then the same with Twitter. What the fuck am I going to tweet about? Like, So, but I do see your point about owning the asset. So if we don't own it, then someone else is going to own it.
Yeah, and it's always interesting. I'll talk a little bit about that in terms of just the numbers, but you know, we know, and you've been in business a long time, so realistically, you understand that no amount of social media marketing will make a shit business any better. In fact, it will just help you fail faster, probably, right? So you need to have
Correct.
that sort of business and marketing sales strategy. And ultimately, I'm a marketer, and I get plenty of people telling me, "Oh, I've tried Facebook, that doesn't fucking work," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, what did you do?" So, but there can often be two reasons, and even when we do, a lot of even with clients that we've had, a bit like you with the snoozers, where the social media marketing is working beautifully, but there's often other elements. And so it's good to hear you sort of working with, on the web and other things along those lines, because a lot of our stuff will often break down back on the website if it's not, being measured is one thing, but also just doing the things that you want it to do is the other thing, right? So, clearly, what most business owners call business, by the way, marketers call marketing, but most businesses call marketing is they just call it marketing communications, right? So ultimately, what we do, particularly because of any advertising that we do, it's really important that you know who the customer is, and that's why we're talking about that before. The good thing is I feel like I kind of know that customer. Um, One of the things you want to have, and it sounds like just by going through those different product offerings, service offerings that you have very good offers, right? That sound like they're very compelling, very competitive, at varying levels, and clearly you've got the backing. Not just of your own knowledge and experience, both of you, and but also of the bigger parent too, right? So, so in a way, like we were talking to before, the opportunity to sort of do something like this for you is, in a way, it's almost how to show the bigger body how it should be perhaps done as well, if that makes sense, right? So the thing is that you've heard of the content marketing, right? That's just the words you use. The website looks awesome. So we use a repurposing strategy. So the website seems to me to have the capacity to be very easily repurposed. You've got really good writing on the website. It seems to me that all of those pages on the websites also have imagery that's reflective of what you're talking about, um, and or could be done in such a way. Do you sort of ever um, and you possibly don't, but with the clients that you work with, is there ever any sort of gallery of image of sort of case studies or any work or anything along those lines, or is it not really the done thing? You're behind the scenes. You're more behind the scenes.
Not, yeah, it's more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Look, let's just say the first 2 years of business was all word of mouth referral.
Yeah.
Previous relationships and what have you. So, like I said, it was all about brand awareness, getting our backyard right, and now we're ready to take on, marketing and all that kind of stuff now. So start getting more organics through social media and through the website as well, and making our digital assets start to give us a bit of an ROI.
Yeah, and so this top section is really the marketing communications part, and effectively, the way I consider it is the day-to-day posts, often to people that know of you or might get referred to you. That's the communications, that's the updates, that's the posts, right, that are going across the different platforms. The promotion is the paid stuff, and that's where we're talking about advertising. But for both of these sections, clearly, depending, things like BNI networking, for instance, I believe 100% that social media marketing and Facebook advertising goes a whole lot better when there's people doing other things like BNI networking, clearly like SEO, that sort of stuff, but also people have done traditional stuff. And even like you said, an element of cold calling or going through your LinkedIn networking and that sort of stuff. I certainly know in my time, we can do stuff for people. Whilst I'm called the business called Dify Social, do it for you. The reality is where people take that, do it with us and sort of do certain things to actually leverage off what we do. They do a lot better. That could be by doing other forms of marketing, but it also could be just by doing the things that we're doing? How do you take leverage off the post that we're making and that sort of stuff? Ultimately, obviously, we want to make sure that you're the best representative of the company you can be. So one of the first things we do is just make sure that your LinkedIn is consistent and that and it does really point. And as I said, a representative of the business, but that's not where we focus on. We focus on the business social media marketing. So we set up your LinkedIn company, and well, you've got one set up, but effectively we're posting to that, and we're making sure it's fully complete. It's really important your network, and the idea of B2B and B2C nowadays really it's just about having a strategic network. So of people, and that's where particularly from a social perspective, it's all about communicating to other people. And then generally speaking, and that's again, you explained to us that sort of franchise company, if they're your current customers, we know that when we're targeting, we know that your prospects probably look quite similar to what your small business through to franchise type businesses are going to look like. And so particularly around the advertising, that's what we target. Is there particular rivals that you have that are competitive in the market that you see?
Yes and no. There's probably two others that play in the retail space. Telstra is probably one of our biggest competitors now because they're moving into that 20, whatever the fuck that strategy is that they're working on.
Right.
Their acquisitions around technology companies and IT services are really starting to come up. So Telstra Purple, they're probably one of our biggest competitors at the moment. And it's because it's backed by Telstra, then some people don't want to leave the big T, or they see that's that capability is there, then we'll just stay with Telstra. It's probably the biggest competitor from that point of view around enterprise. But when it comes to small business, there's not many people out there that do everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
There's some others out there that do things, little things that we do. So yeah, competitive landscape. It's getting harder and harder too, especially with Corona. Working from home and the project works we've found are slowly diminishing. But look, it's competitive
I think with
landscapes.
the reason I asked that question is because particularly with this strategy, we're all about trying to give you competitive advantage. And we can see how some of the perhaps in the same sort of ballpark type size type competitors are competing, even if they are just doing maybe one or two of the elements that you do rather than the whole. And we can keep a watch on that, but generally speaking, we kind of know that they're unlikely to be having the same sort of 6 social assets all singing the same song, all connected the way they could be connecting, and then potentially around that ad type strategy as well. Very rare, just because of once we get over to here. I'll talk about that in a second, but the strategy and the reason
I've actually got to leave, Steve. I've got a 4 o'clock that I need to go to.
Yep.
But yeah, if you can, if we need to reschedule and kick off this, otherwise keep on going with Helena.
I've got to get too. I've got 4 o'clock. I've just pushed back to 4:15.
Yeah.
How much longer do we need for you to run through what you're running
I can do
through with
this
us now?
I can wrap up in 5 minutes because really basically if you had a look at what the proposal is, the idea, but I just want to quickly finish off this. As I said,
Steve,
your website,
I'd actually like to continue this. So if we can schedule another half hour tomorrow, that would be amazing because I'm really enjoying talking to you and listening to you.
Yeah, sure.
Kane, do you want to jet because you've got a client call?
Okay.
And Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Can you organise that another time? Cheers.
Yeah, sure. Let's have a go for tomorrow. Yeah.
What does your day look like tomorrow?
It's very busy, but having said that, if
Or
we're
do you
sort of
want
talking
Monday?
15 to 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes tomorrow is easy. So maybe again, as much as I dislike doing Friday afternoon meetings, I think given that we've had the bulk of the meeting already to a degree, right? So I think if we allow for 30 minutes and maybe sort of say 4 o'clock tomorrow, something along those lines.
Kane's already with clients then.
At 4.
Yeah, he's with clients 4 till 6. So we've got some internationals, which time zone differences. He loves me for doing it to him. The alternative is if you can't do tomorrow, sort of looking at Kane, he can do between that? 11:30 and 3. I
Yeah,
can
I
muck
could
around
do.
with his day, or
I could do.
he's
I'm
pretty
waiting
clear
on.
Monday
I'm
morning
waiting on
too,
somebody to
if you
come back
want.
to me for tomorrow, um, but they haven't as yet. So, um,
What about Monday morning?
yeah, Mondays is the day I get paid effectively. So I work on Mondays effectively for all the clients. So, um, but this client, that new client that we're talking to tomorrow, what I might do is I've sort of told them 1:30, which sort of puts it in a spot where maybe it's not great. What about if we just say if we say 2:30 tomorrow? Would 2:30 tomorrow work? If because we're sort of
Yep,
saying it's half
we
an
can
hour
do that.
anyway, isn't it? I've got another call at 3 o'clock, and
Yep.
then you do, and Kane does as well. So 2:30.
Let me send something through now for 2:30, or
Yep.
do you wanna do it with your whereby
Yeah, I'll do it again. I'll
ready?
just yeah, I'll just do a continuation. No problems.
Yep, so I will we said 2:30 to 3. I'll slam something in Kane's diary now,
Great.
and
You,
then whenever it comes through,
yep. Sounds good.
he will accept it, and we can chat then.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Yep,
El. Awesome.
beautiful.
Thank you for
It's
this.
been a
Yeah,
really, really good chat.
and
A
we'll
great
speak to you
one-to-one.
tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. Will you put that in for us?
Yeah, I can plug it in,
Awesome.
and we'll speak tomorrow.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
See you.